Hello, welcome pen friends. It's time for my progress report, mid-month July 2023, where I talk about how things are going with my writing and the pens and the inks and everything, and miscellaneous. So we'll be jumping right in the ink journal. But before we do that, I just wanted to mention right off the top, thank you everyone who's expressed concern about my family in Vermont. Everyone's okay, and their respective areas were not hit as hard. There were inconveniences, there were power outages and boil water notices, but there was no destruction of property, and eventually everyone was able to move around on the roads. It's a little bit further south where the really serious, the people really need help and recovery and rebuilding and everything. It's really, really, really upsetting to me when I see all of what happened with that historic flooding. But thank you. There's been an awful lot of checking to see this week whether my family was okay, and they are. Thankfully, they are. A lot of people are struggling, but anyway. I just wanted to say that. And the other thing is, thank you for everyone that encouraged me. I would typically be the one encouraging people to contact TWSBI, but for some reason, I didn't realize it would be as easy as it was to get a, to quickly get a response and get a new barrel on the way. This is not the new one yet. They have sent it because I dragged my feet and I put it off and so on, but it was super simple to just email them and tell them that I had a cracked section, and they're going to send this part to me, and then when we get to that point, I'll let you know how it goes. But I'm sure it'll be a lot like having to disassemble for greasing the pistons. So I just need to dust off the video where it shows how to do that. And I'm really excited because this is one of my favorite TWSBI Ecos. So, but I had a response in moments, and the very next morning early I had a tracking number on the part. So it'll be here anytime, I'm sure. Okay, and other than that, I am working with 3 extra fine nibs this time. I'll link to you the original Chris's Inked Pens video. If you missed that, there's a lot more that you'll want to probably see if you're interested in any of these pens. But let's hop into the ink journal because I'm using 3 extra fine, which is a real adventure for me. These are all Pen Friend gifts. And then I'm using a custom with well, I want to say broad, but I think it's a medium nib. It's a very nice medium nib from Pen Realm, from Kirk Speer. Did the nib, and pen friend Mike Shin sent the pen. So there's just all kinds of excitement in the ink journal. So I think we'll go in there. And then at the end, I have 3 new ink samples that came in from a pen friend. And also then we'll go to the library and just talk. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we'll be skipping over this part of the spread because the grades and the notes are under here, but we're going to look at my actual entries first. So, okay, so starting off with this beautiful Grande modified with a medium nib. It has Monteverde Gratitude Magenta in it, and this is just a joy to write with. I mean, I'm picking it up and I absolutely love it. It's a comfortable pen to write with, and it's also really beautiful. So this was sent from, like I said, from pen friend Mike Shin, and he is actually making these, this part of it, and then I guess there are kits involved in the rest, which I have yet to learn a lot about. But okay. We actually had a little break in our heat wave, so there may be mention of those kinds of things here. But it's back on again. Texas has been real hot. Oh, and I just did this chromatography. This was the only one I really wanted to see. The rest of the inks I was familiar with. This is the Monteverde Gratitude Magenta. It's still drying, though. I'm going to leave it hanging to dry. But anyway, it's pretty straightforward, but oh, what a pretty ink. It has a lot of shading. The section on this pen is super comfortable. Reminds me of the Genhao X750 for some reason, although I haven't had them out to compare them side by side, but it's just really comfortable for me anyway. I can just write and write with this, so it's been great. It's the first pen I reach for when writing letters. Yeah, it's got that pop of color in it, and it's just so comfortable to write with, so it's really been nice. So let's see if I can keep this all straight here. Okay, now going into the extra fine nibs. This is the first one. This is the TWSBI Eco with an extra fine nib sent by Pen Friend MS, and I have the Alexander Hamilton DeAtramentis ink in it. This is the first TWSBI Eco, or TWSBI at all, with an extra fine nib that I've ever tried, and it's super smooth. It's finer than the fine nib, but I don't have a lot of experience with the fine nib. With the TWSBI fine nib, with the Lamy fine nib, definitely finer than that. I think I meant to say than an Lamy extra fine, because I do have a Lamy extra fine, and I find this to be just a little bit finer, but boy, it's really nice. It's smooth. It kind of hits a nice point for me trying to transition with some of my notebooks into an extra fine, mostly for planning purposes. And then this ink is very flowy, and it's just really nice. So I've been using this in the Hobonichi and the my bullet journal. And if those things weren't so full of personal stuff, I would show you, but I guess I'm just not comfortable with that. I jot down things everywhere, and I don't want to be having people's addresses and private information showing. That's not my own, especially. But okay, so I have even written letters with this TWSBI Extra Fine Eco, and it's wonderful. It's so smooth, and I really think this was a great choice of ink for it. 10 letters in my reply pile. I'm not sure where that stands now. It might be 8 or 7. I did write a few letters this week. I made a note here. I'm in a bit of a slump and having things to write about. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. There's some things to reply to. I've even considered postcards. Yeah. So, but that's a temporary thing. Those kinds of writing slumps, they come and go. And I'm not too concerned about it. I'm a little bit behind, but I'm not too concerned. It'll pick up again. Okay, then the next pen is this beautiful Majohn, I guess. It's the Moon Man. They had to rebrand their name. I noticed the nib still says Moon Man. And this is an extra fine, and I'm told it's a sapphire finish. This was also sent from Pen Friend MS, and I put the Dimaine Oxford Blue. I knew how this ink behaved, so it was helpful for me to use something that, if I had a problem with the pen with this ink, I knew it would be the pen. Well, no problem. Oh, it's super fine. It's much finer than the TWSBI Extra Fine, which is, you know, very understandable. That's... yeah, it makes sense to me. And I just, wow, I love it. I'm surprised to hear myself say that. And I think you may be surprised at some of the grades. So let's see, I was going on about, oh yes, I've been making a lot of progress with recycling and filing and shredding. Actually, we're almost caught up now because we bought a new shredder. We hadn't had a shredder in a long time. And I had like 4 years worth of where my files were overstuffed. And finally, the file cabinet said, that's it. You're going to end up with stacks if you don't, you know, thin it out and keep only what you need to keep. So that's what I've been working on, being stuck inside. And that's done. So now I've moved on to some other areas. It's wonderful. Taking care of business. Yeah, that's Elvis's symbol there. Okay, next up, I put cross black in this beautiful little Pilot 78G with an extra fine nib. Now these two are very comparable nib-wise, width of the writing. And I'm beginning to understand why people like extra fine nibs. It's harder for me in letters because my writing is naturally kind of big. So the broad nibs and the stub nibs are really a good match for my writing. But whenever it's something like this where I'm trying to get a lot of information and make lists like this, and this happens a lot in my bullet journal and also in my little planner, which I'm wondering about rolling into one for next year, but so far it's been really nice because that Hobonichi goes with me to doctor appointments that I accompany other people to, and I can make sure that I'm not having any of the of Manuel's appointments or the people that we go with, you know, any of them clash. Anyway, you know what I mean. Making sure nothing is double booked. So, yeah, this is wonderful. Oh, and that was filing complete, it says. Yeah, and I love this cross black ink. It is, let's see, let me get the right one. It is wonderful. It's a game changer for me because I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of staining stuff with it, and it's just wonderful. Project. Yeah, I'd like to get a time where I just set aside and really compare them in the planner, but really we're looking at Tomoe River paper, and I'm seeing that these are very, very similar. If this had been a black ink, it would look very, very similar. I would say the Moon Man nib writes just slightly thicker, which could also be an ink thing, but I just love this. I mean, that's 3, and there's not a single complaint with extra fine nibs. It's amazing. Well, hopefully I've gotten rid of the frog in my throat. Okay, so next up is the little Kaweco Sport in Mellow Blue with a double broad, and this is so smooth with the Diamine Moon Dust. It's got the nice shimmer, and it's been excellent for letter writing. It's a nice, you know, I can see why I love it so much because it's really a gray ink. I see it as silver because of all the shimmer that does come across. If I am really good about agitating the converter a little bit, I think this is going to be better when I eyedropper it. Ooh, it's almost empty. Yeah, the little converter doesn't hold much. It's fun for the purposes of every month changing my ink and, you know, but if I want to keep going with this, which I do, I really love this combination, then I will eyedropper it, and that will be really nice with this ink. I really think that this, the Diamine Shimmer-tastic, or whatever they call it, is good ink, and I think I could go for a long time without problems, as long as I'm writing with it fairly regularly. So yeah, this is one of my favorite, I said silver inks, but I just love it. And the double broad is a super good nib for my writing, especially for letter writing. It doesn't work as well in the planners where I want to fit things on a 5mm, you know, dot grid, but I just love it. Anyway, boy, fun. Okay, then next up is I put Birmingham Allegheny River Twilight, the old formula, into this little Opus 88 mini, and this has been fun too. I like it better for letter writing, and not so much for note taking because it isn't quite as good on my CVS caliber paper, but it does work. When we get around to the grades, I think I might have been a little harsh on it because of that, because I'm taking a lot of notes right now on CVS caliber. So we might want to keep that in mind. Yeah, this is wonderful. And again, no complaints, just wonderful. Okay, next up is becoming quickly my new favorite red, the Pilot Iroshizuku Momiji. And a lot of pink comes out when you do any kind of activation. Plus the camera is probably brightening it up some more. So it's been great in this Lamy Safari with a broad nib. Pink up above. It's red at face value, but pink comes out instantly. Yeah. Oh, these are some of the reading that I was doing. I've been burning through books really fast, though. Well, I'm still reading Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. This is a fantastic book. And it certainly is good. I'm reading it now, almost 90 days off of caffeine, because that would have been the step I would have had to take next. And then the fiction was Lady Jenny's Christmas Portrait by Grace Burrows. I finally completed that Moreland series of hers. Next fiction. Yeah, I'm now reading, I finally compiled all of Candace Camp's the Mad Moreland series. That's a different Moreland, but anyway. It's historical romance fiction, you know, that genre. So, okay, so this pen has been wonderful. Yeah, it's just, I instantly enjoy writing with this every single time. Okay, and then last but not least is the beautiful pen called the Fan. That's the model number. And then River City is the color. It's a Herbert Pen Company and Goulet collaboration exclusive, I guess. And it has the broad stub italic gradient nib by Audrey. And it's gorgeous. It's really nice. Now, I have been having to kind of work with this. It has Noodler's Eel Turquoise, and it is gorgeous. It writes so nice. You can't even, you know, in my letter writing or anything else, you can't see that I'm having this issue, but I am having a little bit where I have to go ahead and prime the feed. And I'm writing with it every day, so it's not neglect. Although that doesn't show a lot of ink usage, so I could be all wet. I don't know. But the way I see it, I go and I write with it every morning, and I have been, at least a little bit. But this is not, it has not influenced how much I like the pen. And I am wondering if, I know this is a wet ink, but there may be the perfect ink for this pen, and this is only the second fill, which seems kind of silly. I said priming the feed hasn't stopped me from writing pen pals with this, and it's got just this gorgeous shading. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, it's just beautiful. I love that turquoise ink. And the pen is really stunning. It just all around beautiful. This is the only stub italic gradient nib in my collection, but I like it a lot. I like stubs in general, and this is nice. I'm finding its perfect spot in terms of writing, and it seems to really like my printing, so. 9 a.m. Oh, I'm an early bird today. Okay, let's go to the library where we can do face-to-face, and I'll see you there. There. This has to be like the first time I remember that Coco has slept through the video, so maybe the early morning videos are better. I don't know. It's not that I don't want him to be involved in the video, Coco, my cat, but he jumps up in the middle of everything and it can really cause a little bit of trouble. I'd rather show him separately, or at times when he could be in here behind me, that's fine, things like that. So I guess early is good. He certainly woke me up early this morning. I had trouble going to sleep because I have a very, very close relative traveling, road tripping this weekend. And I was sort of thinking about it. I was thinking about how far they were going to drive and everything. And I kept thinking about getting up and checking my phone to see if they'd gotten there. It's so silly, but in a way, no, because now I understand sometimes when I travel how people are always texting, are you there yet? Or how's it going? And I'm busy, I'm trying to get there, right? So anyway, they're there and they're safe and everything. So, but you know how it is. So I'm excited for that barrel to come in, and I'm embarrassed that it took me till like whatever it was, Thursday, to make the email. I mean, I knew they'd be quick, and I knew I had the $5 to send them to for the postage or whatever for the part. So I'm not sure what made me drag my feet. So I'll get that fixed, that purple transparent TWSBI, and I'll be really pleased about that. I hope it doesn't continue to happen. I'm not actually buying pens anymore, so it's what I have right now, but it's really nice when a company stands behind their product like that. And, it happened before, even with the nib, where I disagreed that, I bought a broad nib and it just wasn't broad. It didn't have enough tipping material. And they did the same thing on that. I think that cost $8 for the shipping. It may have come from a different, I think it came directly from Taiwan. I'm not sure. Or somewhere. Anyway. So I just wanted to mention, people are always asking me, what's going on with the pens from last month. And I am finishing up some of the rainbow pens and the two custom Junior Georges. So I have those in this case. And I've been doing something. I've been watching videos on organizing and the topic of being very, very disorganized, and that has lit a fire and helped me refine my organizing and my clearing of things even more. Like I said, the filing had built up about a 3 or 4 years worth, and I'm always working on my books because that, you know, I have a certain number of bookshelves and I'm going to keep it to that. But there are areas that have been really hard, like sentimental things, photographs, and old memorabilia, that it's time to make those decisions. And by kind of studying how it can be hard to let go of the things even if it doesn't make sense, I've been taking notes about that, and I've been becoming more aware of, oh, you know, this is why, or the attachment or the feeling like the memory is going to leave too. But for instance, I'm looking at it, you can't see it from here, but I'll take a picture later and post it. I decided to move all my completed journals onto one bookshelf, and I did purge a bunch of what I would call process notebooks. The ones that were mainly book notes and things like that I wasn't going to refer to again. And that felt good. You know, at the time I was looking at them, and then I know by now which ones to keep. So I've got all my bullet journals from 2016 on, and all of my regular journals, I think, that I've kept since 2012. Before 2012, I had purged a bunch of them. I wish I hadn't gotten rid of all of them, but I think I understand why. There were some rough years in there, and it's probably best that be gone, you know, those be gone. But now, especially with the bullet journals, I feel comfortable keeping them, you know, indefinitely for now. If I had to make a move, that would be different, but we'll see. So actually, it's hard to show progress because I have taken some pictures, but basically every day I've worked on something, whether it was one tub or one drawer, and it's amazingly not as bad as I thought it was, because I kind of let go of a lot of that during the pandemic, and I didn't dig as deeper and peeling the onion, so to speak, and boy does it feel good. So if you have to be inside, I don't like to be inside, but we're inside an awful lot right now. We do errands early in the morning, and then we come back, and I like to stay busy, or at least accomplish a few good things each day, and it can be challenging. So I was trying to think, I really should have made notes on, I'm looking at a bag of clothing that's going out, so that was nice. That's a good progress too. And I've actually got to where all my series books are in order, which I kind of had them lumped together in general, the right place, but not in order. So that's how I ended up. I had chanced upon 2 books. One was this one by Candace Camp called Winter Set, and it was just an intriguing cover, you know, and it had a step back, and it's historical romance, but it's got this theme through it, and I think there's 7 books. They call them the Mad Moorlands. But each one, there's some kind of a mystery, and there is a little bit of clairvoyance, or each one in the immediate family has some kind of, I'm not going to say powers, but they seem to have ESP, and it just really interests me. And for light summertime fiction, these were like 89 cents at the cat shelter store, which I have to stay away from because I really buy too much stuff. But it's called Retail Therapy, and I'm kind of staying away from stuff like that in general. But I can go to donate things. But right now I'm trying to keep things very, like, let's use what we have. Let's dig deeper with what we have on hand. So anyway, through thrift books and I ended up getting all of the books. I'm reading the first one now, which I read like book 2 and 3 and 4 first. Anyway, they're super interesting because they're trying to solve something in every one. And I like mystery, but I don't like gory murder mysteries all the time. Let's put it that way. Because I have read like all of the Janet Brady Sheriff series and several others, and I watch stuff that would indicate that I do kind of like that kind of thing, but not all the time. Sometimes I just like something that isn't quite as hair-raising, you know. So that's what I'm doing, and reading that book on sleep. I'm rereading Buried in Treasures, which is about hoarding disorder, which it's not that I'm going to label myself a hoarder, but I will say that all of the strategies to deal with hoarding help me with the severe disorganization and the functioning that I do struggle with. And I have studied the topic for a long time because I kind of was aware that it's a progressive thing, or it could progress. But since I was really quite young, I was studying it and taking steps to make sure that that I never lost control of it. And when I was working on the filing, I even thought, this is how it happens. I had a little box about like this on top of my printer full, and I couldn't fit it in the file cabinet anymore. It was the end. I mean, no more papers would fit. And I thought to myself, okay, this is absolutely ridiculous, because I can even take it over to any chair I want to be in and just work on each folder. And then we realized, well, without a shredder, that's what slowed me down. I used to make a box of stuff, and Manuel likes to shred. So anyway, we ran out and got a shredder, and that problem is solved. So it feels good to work on that stuff. And I have felt a little bit funny because I haven't made the number of videos that I usually make, and I'm starting to actually miss it, which is good, because I think that makes for better videos when I actually am driven and excited and enthusiastic about making them. That's when I want to do them. And I love giving you updates on how the writing is going. I couldn't actually see from here how many letters. Let me go and I'll check my letter list and see how many is in my reply pile. Wow, I'm really glad that I checked the reply pile, because in looking at that, it reminded me I promised to show you the ink samples. I got 3 ink samples that were sent by a pen friend, and I forgot to show you in my ink journal, but I can hold that up in a minute. So there are 8, and mail hasn't come in yet today, so I need to get busy. But the 3 samples are Private Reserve Black Cherry. That's at the top there. It's a gorgeous ink. It's a nice, like a deep burgundy kind of ink, or it's got a lot of red in it anyway. And then the next one is Diamine Mystique Shimmer-tastic with gold shimmer. That is pretty. That is super pretty. And then at the bottom is even more impressive. Pure Pens Welsh Gold. And over the top of my writing, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Let's see. Yeah. See how that, I mean, almost every letter looks gold. So it appears to have a black base. I'm not really sure because I haven't done the actual tile, the ink tile yet. But these came in all the way from across the pond from pen friend MB. So I have 2 pen friends that have sent ink with the same initials, but they know who they are, and that's the main thing. So thank you. And I will be deciding for August on at least one of those, but probably won't be able to stand it. I'll have to write with them before July's over, I think. The other thing is that I was using the Sailor Hokoro 1.1 nib on those. Let's see if I can get them all in the same. Yeah, it's really, really pretty. And this is something that I kind of learned from pen friend Marilyn, only I'm a slow learner, I think, because I really think that where I could have done better over the years is just to, in my ink journal, log all of the new ink samples, even if it wasn't this big, but just use a dip pen and a little swatch and log them in as to who sent them right then and there. It strikes me now that would have been an excellent idea. I mean, I did start putting initials on the little ink sample vials. I definitely don't need ink right now, but it's always fun when I get it. But so I'm not, this was wonderful and fun. I'm just thinking about my recent organization and my cleaning out of a bunch of ink vials that were either empty or dried up or etc., and thinking how I could do better going forward. But hopefully because I have more than a lifetime of ink supply right now. So I'm definitely not trying to get any more ink right now. But when, it's fun. Anyway, so I like seeing that spark in me. I don't like to be like, oh no, more ink. No, that's not who I am. I love ink. And I think sometimes we can get overwhelmed. And that's what I'm seeing, is that in many categories, including the pens, inks, and everything to do with a hobby, it's hard for me to be objective with that subject. But when it comes down to old notebooks and filing of bill papers, I can kind of see, and I can transfer skills, from that. But it's really hard when you're emotionally attached to every ink sample because so-and-so sent it and it's such a pretty color, and same with pens. But there is a tipping point, and I think we all get there sometimes, where we say, this is so much that I can't organize my way out of it, no matter what. And I could buy 6 more pen cases, but it wouldn't actually solve the problem. So anyway, more on that to come. But I'm staying away from beating myself up in any form, or I'm simply making sure that everything I have in the hobby, that all like items are together right now, because working with categories is the #1 way that I've done ever since I was in my 30s to try to see things clearly. I still remember bringing all my clothing together, like all my hoodies, all my shoes, which I'm not much of a shoe person, but I have a problem throwing them away, which is solved kind of easily now because I have a loved one that wears the same size who has to have crappy shoes for a job. Anyway, well, that's all I'm going to say on that. So if I need to just pass them on, no matter how bad they are, that makes me feel like, okay, they're not going to be wasted. I have occasionally had to throw shoes away, but it's tough. Probably because it's hard to find comfortable ones. Oh man, this is a ramble. If you're still here, you must be a hardcore pen friend. So maybe put that in the comments. Yep, I'm a hardcore pen friend. One more thing and then I'll go. I remember when my son was a teenager, if the kids in the car got too rowdy, the friends that I was, shuffling, driving around, then they could no longer listen to their music. And we'd have hardcore country, and they would pick on me, forever about that. But that was sort of the rule. They knew then, okay, that's it. It's going on my station because, everybody needs to be quiet, and I'm not having the rowdy in the back seat and the wild music. So, okay, I'll leave you on that note. But things are going well here, and I super hope they're going well for you too. A lot of prayers and a lot of concern for my home state of Vermont and all the flooding they had. It's just wild. And the way the roads work up there, it's, when we're talking about roads being washed out and inconveniences, even if that's all a person's dealing with, it's a lot. It's a lot because you can end up having to go way out of your way just to get the most basic things, and do the most basic things. So I'm glad to see that FEMA's going to help, and that, there'll be help for Vermont. So I'll let you go for now, but I'll be back. And take care, and let's meet in the comments. Bye for now.